Welcome back. I'm Dr. Hazel Huang. In parts 1 and 2, we talked about the mindsets that get in the way of using AI well. In part 3, we looked at how to build a system, my context, skill files, project instructions. When I finished part 3, I thought that was the complete picture. It wasn't. What we haven't shown is what that system looks like when it's actually working on something real. A real project with a real research question that genuinely changed shape multiple times through the combination of my thinking and AI's responses. That's what this video is about. Not a tutorial, but a demonstration of what I had to contribute for any of it to work. Let's dive in. As this project is still under development, I can't share everything, but I can share enough to show you what human-AI collaboration actually looks like. Not the polished version, the real one. The project is a conceptual paper in social psychology. My starting point came from a frustration. There are so many terms that seem conceptually different, but are often used interchangeably. Social exclusion, marginalization, isolation, rejection, discrimination, loneliness, and so on. The confusion isn't arbitrary. Most research has found that the behavioral consequences are broadly similar, regardless of how social exclusion was manipulated. But here's what's interesting. Social exclusion can lead to both pro-social and antisocial behavior. So my question is this: why does social exclusion sometimes bring people together and sometimes push them apart? My goal is to explain why. I won't go into the full theoretical detail here. That's not what this video is for. What I will show you is how the project evolved, what role the conversation with AI played in that evolution, and more specifically, what I had to put into those conversations for them to produce anything useful. My starting point was a personal observation. We feel fundamentally different depending on the type of social exclusion we experience. Can we map these differences systematically? I had a framing. I had a question, and I developed the first version of the roadmap with AI. You can see the broad structure of that roadmap on screen. The first version centered on 2 particular types of exclusion as the primary contribution. It looks proper, right? But in fact, it didn't feel right to me, but I couldn't pinpoint where it went wrong. Since this was also the start of my experiment in using AI to develop a research idea, I decided to follow through. I started with the easiest section, defining social exclusion, and drafted it with AI's help. The outcome was dreadful. The writing was inaccurate, so I had to interrogate almost every sentence. The discussion was superficial, so I knew my instinct was accurate. This version offered limited theoretical contribution. I had to go back to the drawing board. So I did what researchers do when things stall. I went back to the reading. When Claude drafted the roadmap, I asked it to generate key references for each section. I started reading from there. Despite more reading and another update to the roadmap, I still hit a researcher's block. Remember the MIT PhD student's case I mentioned in part 2? I took a page from his playbook. I instructed AI to synthesize the existing debates in the field and to challenge my idea directly. The challenge focused on perceived controllability. The question AI raised was, what is it about interpersonal rejection that makes it feel more controllable than structural exclusion in the first place? Was perceived controllability really the most fundamental dimension, or was there something more basic? I didn't have a clean answer, and that question opened a genuine brainstorm. After a back-and-forth brainstorm with AI, I worked through every dimension that AI came up with. Instead of asking AI to evaluate them, I relied on my own thinking and knowledge to determine whether each felt like it was doing real theoretical work or just labeling something we already knew. Most of them I rejected or folded into something else. What emerged from the discussion was the 2-family structure you see on screen: evaluative content and social navigability. I won't get into the technical details of these terms, but I felt that this newly developed typology was so much theoretically richer compared with what I had in the previous version. The key strength of large language models is that they can read a lot of information in a very short time, so they can synthesize information faster than we humans can. However, the direction you want AI to take that synthesis is completely in your hands, and how you prompt AI will shape the course of the journey you'll be traveling. And information can be genuine or fabricated. With the emergence of AI, the risk of encountering fabricated information has only increased. Directing AI towards truthful, evidence-based outputs is on you, not on the tool. With this in mind, I always ask AI to provide me with readings, not only to double-check AI's accuracy, but also to enhance my own knowledge base. Going through this process myself makes me more confident in what I'm claiming. And on screen, this is a snapshot of the references generated by AI. I don't rely on the paper summaries. Instead, I read the actual papers. Do this enough times and you'll catch it. Even citation details for well-known papers can be wrong. Author names, years, journal titles, all of it. The shift from version 4 to version 5 is where the collaboration became most demanding. While reviewing version 4, I noticed something in the framework that didn't hold together. I had been living inside this framework long enough to see the inconsistency. So the question came from me, not from AI. When I raised it, AI confirmed my suspicion, and we worked through the correction together. That single correction opened a chain of further questions, and this resulted in the most substantial expansion of the entire project. One moment in that chain stands out. A risk was flagged by AI. One stage of the model had limited empirical support. The theory existed. The evidence base was thin. That could be a vulnerability. I didn't accept that as the endpoint. I asked AI to check whether research from a different tradition, one not typically drawn on in this area, might bridge the gap. It did. What looked like a weakness turned out to be an unexplored connection between two research traditions that simply hadn't been brought into conversation before. That connection became one of the most significant contributions of version 5. The question that found it was mine. The search that confirmed it was AI's. When I look back at what happened at each key turning point, none of those contributions came from a prompt. They came from the work I'd done before I opened the conversation. The reading, the thinking, the instincts built up from living inside a field. That's what the system makes possible. Not AI doing your research for you. Instead, AI creating the conditions for your thinking to develop faster and further than it would alone. But only if you arrive with something real. The tool amplifies. It doesn't originate. Build the base first, then use the tool. In that order. That wraps up our session on building a research idea with AI. If you found this helpful, be sure to check out our other videos. The AI is the amplifier, but you are the signal. Without what you bring, it has nothing to work with. Keep building your signal, and I'll see you soon.